Hi guys, sorry, it's like a few minutes late. Been having a few problems with the streamer, but I believe we are now live. Just gonna give everyone a few minutes to gather themselves and we can begin. Oh, hey Tom, just gonna give everyone a few more minutes, and then we can begin. Obviously, if they come in during the session, just continue like last time and it'll be cool. So, another minute, guys, and then we'll begin. How is everyone today, by the way? Looks amazing outside, actually. Wow. Right, it's 5 past now, so I will begin. So to start off, we're going to be looking at idioms and vocabulary today. Idioms in particular. So we might begin by asking, well, what do the above mean? I will unpack what they mean in detail, but just if you're looking through this later on, just think to yourself, have a guess. What do the terms idioms and vocabulary mean? Have a guess. Doesn't matter if you don't know. If you have some idea, just write it out or um, you know say it verbally, like speak if you have to. What I would encourage everyone to do as well, when you're going through the session, maybe have a piece of paper with you, make some notes, or you can obviously type it out as well on a computer or whatever's easiest for you. So to begin, let's look at the word idiom. So what is an idiom? Um, okay, so to begin with, the word idiom here is a noun, as known in the UK, and one way of describing it, according to the dictionary, is a group of words in a fixed order that have particular meaning that is different from the meaning of each word on its own. Um, if this doesn't make sense now, don't worry about it. We're gonna go through some content that will explain this with examples. But here's a quick example from the dictionary. So here we have to have bitten off more than you can chew is an idiom. That means you have tried to do something which is too difficult for you, okay? So focus on this phrase here. with the quotation marks. We have bitten off more than you can chew. So if you didn't know what an idiom was and you've seen the word bitten off, you will think someone um they were biting something, right? You know when a dog bites on something, um and chewing is when you're chewing some food, as a dog tends to do, or people tend to do as well, okay? But this is not what we're talking about here because it's an idiom. So we say something, but we mean something else. Um, so in this case, have bitten off more than you can chew means you have tried to do something which is too difficult for you. Um, but again, this is just the dictionary definition. We're gonna unpack this soon and hopefully it will make a bit more sense. So to begin, I'm going to open up this document. Please work. Amazing. I realize that the font might be slightly small. Obviously, if it is, I can zoom in. In fact, I will start off by zooming in. In the chat, you guys can indicate if it's too small, if it's too big, if it's fine, and I will act accordingly. So we have a bunch of idioms here, okay? So a lot of these are very popular here in the UK, so it's a cultural thing to an extent. So when you hear these terms every day, you can think about these examples here. So number one, John is a couch potato. Do not disturb, he's resting. And we have this example here. We have a picture of a guy in a couch or a sofa or a settee, depending on what word you use for that. So we don't mean he's an actual potato, right? Potato is something you eat. But when you hear someone say a couch potato, we're talking about this. Usually someone who is lazy, okay? Or resting. Second of all, we have I'm an early bird. I love to get up early in the morning. So look at the bold phrase here, early bird. So when you hear about a bird, you think about something that's flying, right? In this case, this um, red thing here. But no, when you hear an early bird, it means that someone who wants to get up early in the morning, right? And don't worry about this. I'm going to go over the definitions again. This is just to give you a quick guide and example. Next, we have this is not as common as the other two. We have Bill is a fair weather friend. Just ask for help and he's gone. So we're not talking about the weather when we say fair weather friend. Um, we are talking about a friend who they will be your friend when things are good, but when there is a tough situation, they will go away. Okay, not very reliable. That's one way of thinking about it. So fair weather friend. Next we have Patrick is a daredevil. Okay, so when you think of devil, maybe you may think of like let's say the opposite of an angel, the devil, right? But that's not what we mean here. He's always doing dangerous stunts. So what do we mean when we say daredevil? Well, it's someone who takes risks. So this example here, we see this guy. He's being quite irresponsible, isn't he? Especially if he's driving his motorbike like that. He's being very, very risky. So you could call him a daredevil. Okay, off to number 5. Okay, idiom is not like a language. Okay, hi Gabrielle. I'm gonna go back to the previous slide just to explain what an idiom is again, but I'm gonna explain it in more detail later on anyway. So just to go back to the previous slide, here's the dictionary definition. Idiom, a group of words in a fixed order, so a group of words, a phrase, that have a particular meaning that is different from the meanings of each word on its own. So an example would be, so look at this phrase here, have bitten off more than you can chew, a very popular phrase in England. However, we don't actually mean biting or we don't mean chewing. when we say have bitten off more than you can chew, what we mean is, so it's an idiom that means you have tried to do something which is too difficult for you. That's what we mean when we say have bitten off more than you can chew. But back to the worksheet. So we're going to explain this more thoroughly. So where were we? We were on number 5. So what a crybaby your brother is. He cries for no reason at all. So when we say crybaby, sometimes we don't always mean a baby, right? You can say crybaby to someone who is, let's say, 15, and you can just call them a crybaby if you want to. So it's someone who cries a lot. Or even if they don't cry, you can still call them a crybaby, which makes it a bit confusing. Number 6. This is a very, very popular one in not just in the UK, in America, it's really big as well. In a lot of, if you watch a lot of TV shows or films or movies, you will see this. You know what they say, Jack of all trades. So this here, Jack of all trades, master of none. So when we hear Jack, we might think the card Jack, the playing card, right? But we're not talking about that. When we say Jack of all trades, we mean someone that is quite good at a lot of things. So I could be good at writing, I could be good at teaching, I could be good at talking, but so that would make me a jack of all trades, right? But let's say I'm not a master of something. So let's say I'm not a master of anything, actually, but I'm good at a lot of things. That would make me a jack of all trades. So I'm good at a lot of things, but not amazing at one particular area. Okay, so 7, I'm a night owl. I hate to go to bed. So the bold phrase here, night owl, it usually means someone that goes to sleep very late. But we'll go over this soon. Uh, just can I go back to this again? Let's see, where were we? Number 8. She's got a heart of gold. So when we hear the phrase, I'm just going to quickly zoom into this in case it's not big enough. So she's got a heart of gold. She's a really great person. So we don't mean a golden heart like this. We just mean she's very kind. She's a good person. That's what we mean when we say that. Number 9. He's a real troublemaker, and he thinks he's the class clown. Um, okay, so troublemaker. This one is a bit more difficult because we can say troublemaker to someone who's actually making trouble, who's misbehaving in class. They're being very loud. We can call them a troublemaker, right? Um, but when we think about the class clown, so we can use the same word for class clown, right? But we don't mean they're an actual clown. Clown is something, a person who dresses up with a mask, a clown. They dress up, they go to the circus. We're not talking about that kind of clown. We're just talking about someone who's misbehaving. They're a troublemaker, so we can call them the class clown. Number 10, as old as the hills. So we don't actually mean hills. We're not actually talking about this here. Um, we are talking about someone who is old in this case. 11, that Mary is a real pain in the neck. Again, um, we're not talking actual pain in the neck, not physical pain. Where were we? 12. The children were as good as gold. So we're not talking about actual gold. We're talking about their behavior in this case. So the children were as good as gold with the new babysitter, believe it or not. 13. Little Susie is a real whiz kid. She could use mobile phone at 2 and a computer at 2.5. So whiz kid here just means someone who is really smart, intelligent, clever. We're not that's what we mean when we say that. We don't mean they're quick at running or anything like that. Okay. Peter is a barrel of laughs. So we're not talking about an actual barrel. We're just talking about someone who is very funny, makes jokes. 15. Okay, this is another common one. John is the black sheep of the family. He's always getting into trouble. So we don't mean an actual black sheep. When we say black sheep here, we mean someone who is the odd one out, okay? 16, that's Mr. McFly, the neighborhood busybody, always spying on everyone. Busybody. So when someone says busybody, we don't mean their body is always busy. We don't mean that. It's more that someone who doesn't mind their own business, like this lady here. Mr. Everton is a fat cat. He's really rich and powerful. So we're not talking about a fat cat like this. We're talking about someone who's really rich and powerful, right? Or has connections. Um, that's Kathy. What a chatterbox. She never stops talking. So we're not talking about a box that talks. We're talking about someone who talks a lot. Cheapskate, just who he won't even order a coffee at a cafe, he drinks water. So when we say cheapskate, we just mean someone who does not like spending much money, really. He's very careful with his money. Let's see. Never get in a car with Uncle Harry. He's a backseat driver and will keep giving you orders. So we're not talking about someone who's sitting in the back and driving, because that's not possible, at least not yet. So we're talking about someone who just won't shut up. They're in the back and they just keep talking, okay? He's a real worrywart. He worries about every little thing. Um, we have slime ball. So this here, we're not talking about actual slime. This is what slime looks like. Slimy, sticky substance. We're not talking about that. When we're talking about slime ball, we're talking about someone who treats everyone badly and can't be trusted. That's what we mean when we talk about slime ball. Slime ball, cold fish. So we're not talking about this kind of fish. We're talking about a person who doesn't have much emotion. So when someone who doesn't have much emotion, they're very serious. They don't show much emotion. We can call them cold. So a cold fish. My little brother is a copycat. You might have heard this before. We're not talking about an actual cat. We're just saying someone that copies everything you do. We have an oddball. Again, we're not talking about an actual ball. We're just talking about someone who's very odd, very weird. And finally, this is very uncommon. You won't need to remember this one, but it's good knowledge to know. Armchair critic. It's about someone who has an opinion on subjects he knows nothing about. So we're not talking about an actual chair, okay? So we went through all those examples, and I will like to just show these one by one again with an actual definition. Right, that's good to know you're understanding, Gabrielle. Okay, so again, because we're gonna have a quick quiz slash twist about this later on, so just try to not remember all of them, but just have a general idea. So couch potato, just read that. Early bird, so likes to get up early in the morning. Fair weather friend, this one's a bit more difficult because it's not that common. Someone who is a good friend when everything is fine. So when someone says someone's a fair weather friend, I would look at that and I think, well, they're not really a good friend, are they? So they will leave you when there's a tough situation, but they're only a friend when the sun is shining or there's a party. So in a way, they're not really a friend, right? That's what we would call a fair weather friend. Next, we have daredevil, very, very common. Crybaby. Uh, Okay, we've been through all of these. We will go back up, don't worry about that, but I'm just going to draw your attention to the um, a quick questionnaire for this. So to begin, I want you guys to answer true or false about these. So first of all, we have daredevils are terrified of everything. Terrified meaning they are scared of everything. So remember the definition we had earlier about daredevils. They take risks. So I've got daredevils are terrified of everything. Is this true or false? For number one. I'm not going to give you guys the answers now. I will at the end. So just have a guess for now. Okay, number two. A fair weather friend is a good friend. True or false? Number two. Number three. A fat cat is rich and powerful. So remember, when we say fat cat, we're not when we use that phrase, we're not sometimes we in that context we were not talking about an actual fat cat. We're talking about a person. So is this true or false? Number four, a cheapskate is stingy. So stingy meaning someone who is stingy with their money in this case. So they don't um, like spending their money, right? So that one, I've just given you a very big clue there for that one. Is that one true or false? A cheapskate is stingy. Right, five. A backseat driver is helpful. So remember, when I say backseat driver, I don't mean someone who is driving in the back seat. I mean someone who is in the back of the taxi and they're just talking a lot while you're driving. So they're not actually driving. So is that true or false? Next, we have number six. A slime ball is someone to avoid. So is that true or false? Number six. So remember, slime ball. Um, it's someone who's not a good person. So that's a clue. We have, let's just go down a bit. So we're only one, two, three, four, only six more to go, guys. So number seven. A whiz kid is very smart. True or false? Next, we have number eight. A chatterbox is the silent type. Is that true or false? Nine. An armchair critic writes reviews. Reviews meaning, so let's say I've watched a movie. I went home and I wrote about that movie. I wrote its good points, its bad points. I came to a conclusion. I recommended it to people. I wrote an article about it. That would be a review, okay? A busybody minds his own business. True or false? A couch potato loves watching TV. And finally, 12. A cold fish is very emotional. True or false? Okay, so I've just gone through that true or false. You can rewatch this at any point and test yourself. So the more you test yourself and answer these without guidance, the more it will stick in your brain. But for now, I'm gonna scroll down and give you guys the answers. Okay, so let's look at these answers here. Gabrielle, is the font size okay? Is it big enough? Can you see? Can you see the text? If you could just confirm in the chat, please. So, so here are the answers. So number one, daredevils are terrified of everything. False. Remember, daredevils take risks, so it's false. A fair weather friend is a good friend is false because they're not a good friend. A fair weather friend will leave you when there is a tough situation, okay? They're only your friend when everything is happy, sunny, and good. A fat cat is rich and powerful. True. So remember, when we say fat cat, we are talking about someone who is rich and powerful. We're not talking about an actual fat cat in this context. A cheapskate is stingy. True. They don't want to spend their money, so they will go to a cafe and they will not buy anything sometimes. They let their friend buy something and they won't buy anything. They will just sit down and get some tap water to save money. I will admit I have done that in the past. Hey, you have to live, right? So, 5. A backseat driver is helpful. False. They are not helpful. The slime ball is someone to avoid. True. So a whiz kid is very smart. True. A chatterbox is the silent type. False. When someone is a chatterbox, they talk a lot. They keep talking. Okay, number 9. An armchair critic writes reviews. That is false. That's not what they do. A busybody minds his own business. That is false. A busybody does not mind his own business. He will spy on other people. He will, you know, he will focus on other people when he really shouldn't be. He does not mind his own business. That's what a busybody is. A couch potato loves watching TV. This is true. When someone says couch potato, we are talking about someone who is lazy. They usually watch TV, they eat a lot. And finally, a cold fish is very emotional. That is false. When we call someone a cold fish, we mean they don't have much emotion at all. Okay? So those are the answers. Just gonna quickly enlarge this just in case it's not big for anyone. So remember, T equals true, F equals false. Um, I know I've mentioned this before, but in the chat box there is a bit of lag. So I will say something, and let's say someone types something in the chat box, that message will not show for about 2 or 3 minutes. It's annoying, but we can live with it. It's fine, guys. Right, I'm gonna scroll back up now. Right, I'm gonna scroll back up and do some more exercises about what we've worked on today. So we're going to select the correct person. So number 1, someone who causes you a lot of problems. Is that a whiz kid, B, a pain in the neck, or C, an early bird? So what is it? What is number 1? Someone who causes you a lot of problems. Are we going with A, B, or C? Again, I won't give you the answers now, but we'll complete all of these, so have a guess, and then we will go through all the answers together. But by all means, guess them now, and Tom can confirm if you are right or wrong, and so forth. Number 2, the person you'd like to take to a party. So would it be A, a cold fish, B, early bird, or C, a barrel of laughs? Usually What kind of people would you take to a party? Now, oh, it's that one's a bit more tough, but take your time. So, number three, the member of your family who's always in trouble. Is that a black sheep, a crybaby, or a worrywart? Four, what mothers often are daredevils, worrywarts, or couch potatoes? What mothers often are. So what? So if mothers, what do they usually do? Are they usually daredevils? Are they usually worrywarts? Are they usually couch potatoes? I mean, I guess it would depend on the mother, but usually, mothers tend to worry about you a lot, right? So it would be B. I know I'm not supposed to give you answers, but this one's a bit more. Um, it's not as easy as the other ones, okay? So what teenagers often are teenagers are cold fish, couch potatoes, or early birds. Again, this one's not really an easy one because some teenagers can be cold fishes. They can be some of them can be early birds, but they can also be couch potatoes. In the UK, there is a most people might say couch potatoes, but it's not the only right answer. So for some of these guys, it's not one or the other. There can be other answers, but usually people might say couch potatoes. Okay, next. Six, take this person clubbing. An early bird, a fat cat, or a night owl. Um, okay. Number seven, not a good idea to take this person to the library. A chatterbox, someone who talks a lot. B, a night owl, someone who's awake all night. Or C, a cheapskate, someone who doesn't like spending much money. Okay, so there is a clear answer for this one. Um, so remember, in a library, it has to be quiet. You don't want to talk much. So, not a good idea. Which one would it be? And finally, eight. The last person you'd expect to buy you coffee. A couch potato, a worrywart, or a cheapskate. Okay, that's fantastic, guys. Well done for answering those questions. So we will go over the answers now. Okay, so number one, the correct answer was B, a pain in the neck. So someone who causes you a lot of problem is a pain in the neck. So not physical pain. When we say pain in the neck, we usually mean a lot of problems. The person you'd like to take to a party, usually a barrel of laughs. So usually when we go to a party, we want a laugh, right? Um, I mean, you can take early birds to a party or a cold fish, but usually people would say barrel of laughs. Um, the member of your family who's always in trouble. Um, we would say black sheep usually, someone that sticks out, the odd one out, the black sheep. But again, you can say if you said crybaby, it wouldn't be wrong. It's just culturally in the UK, when we use idioms, we would associate that with the black sheep, okay? The odd one out. What mothers often are, so mothers often worry a lot, so we would say B, okay? Because mothers can be daredevils, they can be couch potatoes, but usually we say mothers always worry, so we would go with B. Okay, in the UK, a lot of people say teenagers are lazy. This is very, very common. It's not true for all teenagers. Some teenagers are not lazy, but in the UK, a lot of people say teenagers are lazy, so it would be B. Um, Number six, take this person clubbing. They've picked a night owl because, night owls, they sleep very late. So if they go clubbing, clubbing is usually at nighttime, so it would make sense. Now, you could also say a fat cat because they have a lot of money. So, but night owl is the answer here. Number seven, not a good idea to take this person in the library to the library. Now, this is the most easiest one I thought. A, So if you have a chatterbox, someone who keeps talking, you do not want to take them to the library, because in the library, it's where you are studying, you are quiet, you don't want to keep talking. Finally, the last person you'd expect to buy you a coffee. The answer is C, a cheapskate, someone who does not want to spend his money. Okay, that's fantastic. We have gone through all of those. We do have another set of exercises here, but before we go through them, um, let's see. If you were what would you do? Okay, though this is more how do I put this? Um, there is no right answer for this. It's more just explaining the phrases. So here we have the phrase night owl. So if you were a blank, what would you do? So let's say for the number one, night owl. So if you were a night owl, what would you do? So you would just say, I would sleep late at night. That's what you would say for number one. That would be a good example. For number two, if someone were to ask you, so think about this. So I'm asking you, if you were a number two, which is busybody, so if you were a busybody, what would you do? Then you would answer by saying, I would, then you would continue the sentence. Okay? So remember, for number one, I said, if someone asked me, if you were a night owl, what would you do? I would say, I would sleep late at night. That's what I would say. So what would you say for number two? I would. Remember, a busybody is someone who does not mind his own business. So what would you say? So finish the sentence. So you'd say, I would. Have a guess? So I could say, not. Oh, this messes up with the format, doesn't it? Just annoying. Um, let's see. Okay, I'll delete this, but I could say for number two, I would not mind my own business. Okay? I could say that. So I would not mind my own business if I were a busybody. I could say that. What would I say for number three? Look at the phrase here, and remember this means someone that worries a lot. So if you were a blank in this case, worry what? What would you do? So I could say I would worry a lot, right? What would I say for number four? Daredevil. So remember what a daredevil is. So what would you say? Well, you could say, now remember, these aren't the only answers. You can come up with your own answers. In fact, I encourage you to come up with your own answers. But you could say, so if you were a daredevil, what would you do? I would take a lot of risks. Okay? Number five, troublemaker. I would cause a lot of trouble. Um, so what would I do if I was a copycat? I would copy my brother's dress sense. So the kind of clothes he wears, I would copy that. I wouldn't really. I'm just saying as an example. He would probably copy me actually. Chatterbox, I would talk a lot. Early bird, I would wake up early in the morning. Next up, we have black sheep. What would I do if I were a black sheep? Okay, so this one's gets you thinking a bit more. So remember, you're the odd one out if you're a black sheep. So let's say um, you go to a meeting, right? In a meeting, everyone is wearing suits. and ties and smart clothes. So I could say, I would wear a um, I would wear gym clothes to the meeting. So that's what I would do if I was a black sheep. I would be the odd one out. Everyone is wearing suits, and I'm the only one wearing gym clothes. Not a good idea. Finally, what would I do if I was a whiz kid? I would pass every exam because I'm very smart, right? If I'm a whiz kid. So hopefully that makes sense, guys. Obviously, if you have any questions, put it into the chat box. Now I would like to draw your attention back to the PowerPoint presentation because I'm gonna explain a few more things about idioms. Okay, so warning, phrases are not always idioms. So while we have looked at idioms, but context is important. So what do I mean by that? So, well, look at this phrase here, fat cat. So I can say the above describes an actual cat in this context, in this case. So this picture here, this really cute cat. So if someone wanted to describe it, they could say fat cat. So now they're not talking about a rich person, they are talking about an actual cat, okay? So context matters. So for example, that man, so if I'm talking about a man here, that man there is a fat cat. So if I used this sentence here, I am saying that man is very rich or powerful. He has a lot of money. I'm not saying he's a fat cat. However, if I were to say that animal, bold word here, that animal is a fat cat. In that case, I am talking about the cat itself. So I am being literal with my words. I am not using an idiom. So remember, while idioms mean different things most of the time, it doesn't mean they're always idioms, right? And hopefully this fat cat example explains that. So people, so someone who is rich, a man, fat cat, but an actual animal is a fat cat. He is such a cute cat, isn't he? Oh, I want to pet him. Okay, finally, more examples. So, just to talk about an idiom again. So, an idiom is a common word or common phrase culturally. So, remember, culturally understood. So, it's not the same in every country. Um, I'm talking specifically to the UK and America. So, these idioms will not be true in every country, meaning that what is said differs from what is actually meant. So here's a very popular example of an idiom that we use in the UK always. Actions speak louder than words. So what someone actually does, this is what this means. What someone actually does means more than just what they say. So someone actually handing you a bunch of flowers rather than just saying, "Ah, I'll get you some flowers tomorrow." So the action is giving the flowers, and the words is just saying, "Ah, I'll give you flowers tomorrow." Okay. Next, an arm and a leg. We're not talking about an actual arm or a leg. What we're talking about is a phrase used to massively over exaggerate when something might be overly priced. For example, the pint cost me an arm and a leg, when in reality they're just paying an extortionate amount, so a lot of money than what they're used to. So, for example, if I went to the shop, um, someone is selling me a cup of coffee for £10, and I would say, "Oh my God, that's you're charging me an arm and a leg." So he's charging me too much money. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about an actual arm and leg in this case. Um, So hopefully that explains what idioms are, and hopefully it's helped with your vocabulary as well. Um, and thank you very much for attending today. Cheers, guys. Take it easy and stay safe.